Ladies and gentlemen, this is Gail Morgan welcoming you to the Libertarian Counterpoint's Knuckleheads of Liberty podcast. You've heard their point, now listen to the counterpoint.
Welcome to the Knuckleheads of Liberty. We are coming at you on August 4th, 2021. Just sort of stumbling our way through this Biden administration. The news never ends, boy, I tell you, and it's almost none of it's good. But before we get to our stories, let me introduce you to our panel. In our upper left-hand corner, we have Leon, the word Brathwaite, last word in Liberty. He is a retired engineer in the state of California. In our upper right-hand corner, we have our screaming eagle of freedom, Tim Everett. He is a pilot in the state of California. My name is Jason McPhee, and I'll be your host today. Let's jump right into it. One of the stories, this time I guess a sort of a semi-rare positive story, I guess nowadays. But the private space race has been heating up over the last few weeks, and we've had Branson, Richard Branson, I believe, of Virgin, had launched himself into low Earth orbit, just about a month ago or so. And then that was followed by Jeff Bezos of Amazon launching himself into orbit that's a little bit farther out. And of course, we all know about Musk, who's been who sent a Tesla quite a while ago into out into the what do you call it, the solar system, I guess. Yeah. So certainly he has a lot of projects going on as well. But that's just sort of a miracle of markets. The idea that these guys are essentially touching the heavens in ways that people only thought government could do at one point. And the idea that that's fueled by markets is just quite an accomplishment. And so I have an article here to share. Let me see if I can pull that up. So here in this particular article, it's from CNN Business, and for once, not fake news. And it's funny. Out of all the tall tales, you'd think private companies going into space might be one of them, but it's not. This is real stuff here. And so this kind of shows the orbits of where these guys have been going to. And so at Jeff Bezos, Blue Origin company, they went up to 65 miles above the surface of the Earth, and Richard Branson 53.5. And so this has real implications for technological innovation and quicker travel as well from place to place on the Earth. So there's some big innovations. And of course, as these guys do this, they'll be driving down the cost of those technologies as well through this competition, which is one of the really miraculous things, right? We used to have NASA, giant behemoth organization. Eventually, they started to become this, less and less innovative agency, as generally happens with government entities, and to the point where they were having accidents and they weren't getting anything up there. And so finally, the government has sort of latched on to private industry now, and they're contracting with these guys. And so it's really, quite the accomplishment what these guys are doing. But on that same note, while these guys are doing this incredible stuff, we have Bernie Sanders. The socialists want to keep us all equally grounded. And it's just, you just want to shake your head, look at this stuff. I mean, here these guys are trailblazing, and you got guys like Sanders telling Musk we should focus on Earth instead. And, here's a picture of him in his mask, telling the confident Musk, how things should be. And the specific quote that comes out of the article, he says, space travel is an exciting idea, but right now we need to focus on Earth and create a progressive tax system so that children don't go hungry, people are not homeless, and all Americans have health care. So, again, government's been focusing on that stuff for the last 30 years. I mean, what's going to change? All right. These guys are doing something, and, he wants to rain on the parade, take his resources away and spread them out. You guys got any thoughts on this? It's just...
Well, my first thought is that he talks as if the progressive tax system still needs to be created, like it hasn't already been created and is in full force. And the other thing is Musk and his company, which has never turned well. There's been a couple of quarters where it's turned a profit, but barely. Just proves, I don't know if it's really free market. I think there's a lot of
distortions,
cheap debt, and the fact that people will buy stock in companies that are losing money with reckless abandon, and they'll pump billions into these companies with reckless abandon, and some of those billions are even not only just blown on stupid ideas for manufacturing electric cars that Musk has come up with, but also ideas like this, which on one hand probably wouldn't be considered stupid, but I'd feel a little bit guilty about using that money from debt essentially to finance it. But the other two guys, I haven't looked into Branson. Leon might know more, but his Virgin companies probably have turned a profit, and I know for sure Amazon has. Amazon is cash rich. They leave a lot of their money in the company, and if they want to utilize some of that money to create another income stream, even if it's rich people getting their jollies by going off into space, so be it. I have nothing against that whatsoever. Little worried about Musk, but the rest of these guys can go up into space, and but what people on the left are saying, judging from Facebook memes, is that gee, if they got that much money to go off into space, then obviously they're not being taxed enough. I mean, because the alternative, we all know, the government would spend that money that they're wasting going into space so much better.
Yeah, so wise. They'll be so wise about it.
They are so wise, and we all know that they would do such a good job of it, just like they've done with NASA, that why would we want to allow this level of low taxation to exist?
If Bernie Sanders and AOC were alive in biblical times, we will still be using the donkey and the horse as the main source of transportation.
Equally,
there's no doubt about it.
Equally, yes.
These people are high on insanity. Seriously. I mean, look at the innovations and the creativity involved in this, and looking forward into going down the road, all the inventions that will come out of this thing, consumer products that we will all use. And how could you look at all that and still come up with this nonsense of Bernie Sanders talking about we have to focus on Earth? Well, where do you think the creativity is occurring? Right here on Earth, Mr. Idiot. You should shut your mouth sometimes. It will be a good thing, Bernie Sanders. Just keep quiet and go with your little socialist utopia. Fine. Well, I should say socialist dystopia, wherever you can find it. Maybe go back to Vermont or wherever, and go live on a little socialist farm up there and see how it works out for you. This damn nonsense just keep ringing in my ears. Listen to you people with your incoherence. They're almost as incoherent as Biden, right? Biden is incoherent in real. These people have a little bit of eloquence, but they're incoherent in their logic. And it's so distasteful that it's just ruining my day every time I think about it.
It almost sounds like they're coherently illogical.
You know what, Tim? I'm going to steal that, but I'm not going to give you credit for it.
Go right ahead.
One of the impressive things about this whole story, though, is the idea that, government, maybe it has a role in space in terms of, trying to trying to regulate the debris that might fall out of space, say, hey,
Sure.
look, there's too much junk out there, or, the space garbage. I mean, anybody who's seen the movie Gravity, can kind of appreciate the idea that there's a lot of stuff floating around out there. And just from all of the different companies and governments who've shot things out into space, and then the stuff just, turns into the junk after a while and eventually decays in its orbit. But the crazy thing is, though, I think this is teaching us is that, even though government may have a role, government doesn't have to be the deliverer of this space travel. And I mean, I think about the analogy of public schools. And I mean, here we are, government maybe can have some role in education, but why does it need a monopoly in the delivery of education? And that's what we've seen that's just been so harmful to both space travel and now to, schools as well. And, one of the things that came out of the pandemic was that, we had these private schools that, it's a very small minority of schools are private, but, we had these private schools and the government shut them down as well. So, I mean, not only did the government exercise its own poor judgment on public schools, but it carried that over onto private schools too, which is where people are trying to get away from, these bad government directives. And so there was recently a decision that came down from the Ninth Circuit that said that this was unconstitutional, that California shutting down, locking down these private schools was unconstitutional. I'm going to read you just a small snippet of it so that you can appreciate it a little bit. But it said California, this is a decision, by the way, by Judge Daniel Collins, and apparently joined by another judge, Eugene Siler. And so essentially it says California's forced closure of the private schools implicates a right that has long been considered fundamental under the applicable case law, the right of parents to control their children's education and to choose their children's educational forum. And then he goes on to say the Supreme Court has long held that the right of parents to make decisions concerning the care, custody, and control of their children is a fundamental liberty interest protected by the Due Process Clause, and that this right includes the right of parents to be free from state interference with the choice of the educational forum itself. So I go on to get into some of the specifics about, distance learning and all that. But I just thought those were pretty powerful and clear words in the case of parental liberty in choosing their kids' education. And I just wish we had more of that and more school choice. But anyways, you guys have any thoughts on that article?
Most of these opinions, Jason, about education and other things, I mean, they just don't go far enough in terms of solidifying our rights as parents. I'm a parent, all of us here are parents. I think the government have encroached upon this right so much that many of us are feeling helpless as parents. Do you know in some states, a teenage girl could have an abortion without parental consent? Do you know in some states, teenagers could have vaccines without parental consent? That is going on right now as we speak.
Well, and the government, the federal government, is looking to provide hormones recently to kids without parental consent as well, which is kind of crazy.
There you go. So education is great. I mean, I'm glad about the outcome of this case, and I'm glad that the court, the Ninth Circuit, ruled in favor of the parents who were the plaintiffs in this case. I'm really happy about it. But most of these opinions do not go far enough in terms of solidifying the rights of parents to raise their kids as they see fit. Now, I'm not talking about cases where there's obvious abuse and all that kind of stuff. I mean, certainly there's that role for government when there are crimes being committed against a child. Of course, I would never support anything like that. But we are seeing things that should clearly be in the hands of the parent being taken away by the government and governmental authority. And this is something that we must stop, and we must stop soon. Otherwise, pretty soon, the government will come into our homes and tell us we can't even what to feed our children. This is ridiculous. This is beyond belief. So I am glad how this case turned out. I'm really happy about it. But I want these cases to go further because there are too much governmental regulations that are encroaching upon our rights and encroaching upon our civil liberties as parents.
Yeah, I agree with all that. And it's it's almost like government's trying to pick winners and losers. This time, the losers are the private schools, and the winners are the public schools, because we know that they will never stop paying their teachers and whoever they lay off at all.
Yes.
However, in a private school, you close them down. Now they've got an issue with income and being able to, pay themselves and pay their bills, so on and so forth. So just like any other private company. Once again, their policy is disproportionately harmful to the private enterprise. Considering that all of this government largesse is, well, I used to say this, okay? I had this canned thing. It's like all of it depends on the private sector economy to support it. However, now with the ability to just print wealth, out of nothing at the Eccles building.
Trillion here, trillion there,
Yeah. Exactly. So now I have to stop myself and say that, no, it's not really the private economy that supports this whole behemoth, but it is central banking that does it now. So we're all safe, okay? We can do that as much as we want to. It's a self-licking ice cream cone.
Well, Tim, you mentioned too the winners and losers. The sad thing is with the schools and them trying to force everybody into government schools and eliminate private schools, they're essentially making everybody losers. There are no winners in this case, other than the people getting paid. That's it. So it's a sad, sad story, because it's future generations that are going to pay for this lack of
thing.
Yeah.
Well, I heard there's a teachers lobby, but I've never heard of a students lobby that goes to Washington, right?
Yes.
When in a free market, that would be the customer, right? And the parents and the kids choosing together which schools they're going to go to. And
Exactly.
Yeah, with mutually beneficial exchange as part of that.
Yeah,
exactly. There's there's a hypocrisy in this thing that I just can't help but mention. I can't help myself on this. I am sorry. I apologize. But this Gavin Newsom, who was the main architect of these lockdowns and that kind of stuff, is such a hypocrite. Boy, I hope they recall that man. He's such a hypocrite. He locked down the public schools. He locked down the private schools. Some of the private schools were able to stay open. You know what Gavin Newsom is doing to his school-age children? He's sending them to the private schools. Since last November, sending them to the private schools, where the public schools are locked down. So his kids are getting the wonderful and personal instruction, as they should. I don't fault him for having that ability, but why should he be denying that to everybody else? Why?
Yeah.
But
well,
this is Gavin Newsom.
Yeah, and it's I hate to get too diverted onto this, but oh my gosh, we're in California, and we have a recall coming up in September, and of Governor Gavin Newsom, and gosh, I tell you, we hear this. What do they call it? A gaslighting from the media of the lefty media, where they'll say, "What has he done wrong? It's just been tough times because of the pandemic." I mean, they're forgetting the fact that he wound up losing billions of dollars to prisoners, handing out this money. These billions of dollars during the lockdown. He sent, as Leon said, he sent his own kids to private school while being comfortable locking down the public schools. It's just, he was sitting there saying we need mask mandates and to shut down businesses while he's off at a fabulous restaurant with
the French laundry,
with health lobbyists, no less. Healthcare lobbyists. At this thing. It just you can't make this stuff up, and then the media will say, well, what did he do wrong? This is about the biggest failure you can see in government, both nationally and statewide. Sorry, Tim, go ahead.
No, that's I don't know what I was thinking. It was something that you were talking about there. I don't think these people made that up. I think he had a hand in it. At least the Democratic National Committee did, and all their expert speech writers and marketing experts that had a hand in all that. Of course. But I don't. We'll see. We'll see what happens if voters are swayed by that, or if there's just not enough people that see that he's just totally cut out the legislature, totally against the Constitution once again, the hermetically sealed Constitution of the state of California. They may as well pull it out of its container and burn it on the steps up there in Sacramento, and have a nice little media presentation, and make sure it makes it to the evening news, and then we can all celebrate the final honest destruction of the Constitution, instead of playing this ridiculous theater, constitutional theater, or what is it? I mean, they don't even do that. I mean, they don't have the decency to even pretend to follow the Constitution, whether it's state or whether it's federal. It doesn't matter. That the rules are meant to be broken by them. Why? Because they're God's ordained lords over all of us. And so I'm gone. I'm going.
Well, I can tell that you're triggered, but that's actually a great segue for our Good Guys with Guns segment, Tim.
Oh,
you want to tell us about an instance that happened this year of Good Guys with Guns?
Good Guys with Guns. Okay, well, this was earlier in the year. This is from January, out of Hesperia, California. And a Hesperia homeowner fended off an armed man. No one dies, by the way, who was trying to break into his home, exchanging gunfire until the man ran away. The wild early morning shootout was caught on camera, like those little surveillance cameras, and the suspect turned out to be a neighbor who lived only a few doors down. Just remember that. Never trust your neighbors. The incident happened early Monday morning when the family heard someone trying to break into their home. I see him. He's trying to kick the door in, demanding to come in. Then I see him pull out a gun. The homeowner ushered his wife and child into a closet for safety while he went to grab his own gun. He came back to the front door and could see the man pointing his gun. At that point, they both started shooting at each other through the door. The two exchanged gunfire through the door for less than a minute before the man ran away on foot, firing a shot at another home in the neighborhood as he fled. Good measure, I guess. A few minutes later, sheriff's deputies showed up and eventually found and arrested the suspect in the neighborhood. The homeowner said the man turned out to be his neighbor, but they didn't know each other or have any previous interaction. The home was left with bullet holes in the walls and door. The homeowner was armed with a 9mm and says from the bullet casing, it appears the intruder had a .22. And they later identified him as Eric Contreras, 39, a resident of Hesperia. He was arrested and booked for attempted murder, shooting into an inhabited dwelling, attempted robbery, and felon in possession of a firearm and ammunition. Oh my God.
I can't believe it. The gun laws didn't work.
Did not work.
That's against the law. Wasn't he thinking of that when he went and bought that gun? I'm breaking the law. And he bought that ammunition back when that was top of the year. So it was, illegal for him to do that because he was a felon. Yet, in spite of that, he did it. I can't believe that. The gun laws in California that everybody voted on going, oh, that's a great idea, did not prevent this felon from acquiring a gun and ammunition. It's just incredible. I'm shocked.
We all shocked. We all shocked him.
We are.
Yes.
Yeah. All of us except for the dumb morons that voted for all this stuff.
Well, clearly, we need another law. That's we need another law to make sure that the other law works. That's the
there ought to be a law against bringing a .22 to a gunfight with a 9mm.
Yeah. We need another insane law to fix the last insane law, Jason. Yes, you're right.
Yes. Well, speaking of insane laws and there's our Knucklehead Noise Patrol. So insane laws and other crazy stuff that we hear people say. So this time I want to bring you a story of, I guess it's sort of the craziness that's going on with the language right now. So apparently there was a recent story in the University of California medical school. There was apparently a doctor who apologized to his class for basic biology. Apparently he apologized for using the term pregnant women. I mean, this is this is a University of California medical school. Okay.
Medical school.
And apparently the doctor had used the term to his students, pregnant women. And then he caught him. It doesn't say whether the doctor was a male or a female. This was reported by Katie Herzog through Barry Weiss's Substack. Okay, so but apparently, he said she said they should have used the term pregnant people. Okay, and so apparently the professor went to his students, and this was I believe this was caught on video or audio, and he said, "I don't want you to think that I am in any way trying to imply anything by the use of pregnant women. And if you can summon some generosity to forgive me, I would really appreciate it. Again, I am very sorry for that. It was certainly not my intention to offend anyone. The worst thing that I can do as a human being is to be offensive. I said when a woman is pregnant, which implies that only women can get pregnant, and I most sincerely apologize to all of you." And this is a doctor, a medical doctor at a university teaching future doctors.
We in big trouble. We in big trouble. You know, Ben Shapiro said facts don't care about their feelings. Well, feelings don't care about their facts either. Okay, feelings don't care about their facts. God help us. Imagine that. First we had birthing people, and now we have come to find out that other people, other than women, could get pregnant. God help us. Well, maybe I may want to get pregnant. I've never had that experience. Okay? I got somebody pregnant, my wife, but I've never had the experience of being pregnant myself. Maybe I should go experience that, according to this doctor, since it looked like I could.
Well make sure you have your prescription for the pill, because, we don't want to take any chances, right?
Are you done there, Leon?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay. Well, I think the worst thing that this guy can do is not to be offensive. The worst thing this guy can do is teach medical school at this point. I think he just needs to, or she, or whoever it is, needs to resign and just forget about it, because anybody that would believe that men can get pregnant, what can I say? Quit while you're ahead.
Quit
right. Yes. Yes.
Well, the scary thing about this, though, is you can see the fear in this doctor. He's apologizing prophetically.
He's worried about they're worried about their job.
Yeah,
exactly.
And that's the really scary part about this is the oppression that this is causing on people, and just their normal speech, to just speak like crazy people, so that they make sure they don't run afoul of whatever the rules are. But we're coming up right on the rules of the end of our show, what time it is, and so thanks so much for joining us. We hope to see you at the next one, and until then, stay free.
Yeah. Bye bye.